punch. Working with Media Matters, they tried to pressure YouTube into silencing conservative voices under the guise of protecting democracy. Their target list? Everyone from Rudy Giuliani to Ben Shapiro, from Tucker Carlson to Ted Cruz, and they even featured Eliza Schaefer on the banner of the article. But something remarkable happened. YouTube stood firm. The platform actually defended free speech, leaving the Times and Media Matters exposed for what they really are: censorship advocates masquerading as journalists. And you know what's painful? Watching the mainstream media try to silence conservative voices. But let me tell you what's even Americans have found relief. Something was coming. We're going to target 30 conservative influencers, and it turned out to be just a big dud because YouTube pushed back. And a lot of people are really surprised by that, myself included. Now, before I get into that, just a couple hours ago, America First Legal posted that the UK-based Center for Countering Digital Hate is leveraging its connection to the Biden-Harris administration to illegally engage in an influence campaign to stop free speech in the U.S. They've targeted Robert Kennedy Jr., Elon Musk, and more. So it looks like America First Legal is now taking action. They've got a thread here based on new evidence explained in the following thread. We have formally requested that the DOJ investigate whether CCDH's U.S. operation and leadership agents of a foreign principal must comply with the Foreign Agents Registration Act. CCDH is a nonprofit organization established and predominantly staffed in the UK that has promoted unconstitutional censorship on social media platforms for years. In London, it shares an address with Labour Together, the UK Labour Party associated think tank. They met with Kamala Harris' campaign at the DNC in Chicago and has promoted unconstitutional censorship on social media platforms for years. Look at this headline from Politico: Trump allies rage at UK Labour help for Kamala Harris. There's more to come. So the question is now, is this foreign influence on our election? Sure looks like it. But what's really trying to influence the election? The New York Times and Media Matters. Libby Edmonds posting this, that YouTube defends conservative content creators against Media Matters fueled New York Times hit piece on election misinformation, linking to the Post-Millennial. Let's see what the Post-Millennial had to say. Okay, so here it is. We've got YouTube defending New York Times. Nico Grant reached out to prominent YouTubers earlier this week to inquire about the election misinformation beleaguered far-left media watchdog Media Matters had claimed to have found in their videos. Grant also reached out to YouTube for his article. The platform said none of the 286 videos violated its community guidelines. YouTube further told the Times that what's important to us is that we are representing a broad spectrum of views. Grant asked Tucker Carlson, Tim Pool, Ben Shapiro, Andrew Klavan, Benny Johnson, and the Babylon Bee, among others, about those videos before digging into the relationship with YouTube, asking, are you a member of the YouTube Partner Program? If so, how frequently does YouTube demonetize your videos? Has YouTube sent you messages, emails, or notices in the last year that your content contains misinformation? When reached for comment, most of the commentators responded with some variation of F you and posted the correspondence. YouTube had once had restrictions against so-called election misinformation, but those restrictions were lifted. Others have not been. Grant blasted YouTube for what he said was their decision to stop fighting the most persistent strain of election misinformation in the United States. The falsehood that President Biden stole the 2020 election from President Donald Trump. He went on to boast that Media Matters, which is a media watchdog, they just targeted conservatives. They've targeted us ad nauseum. They boasted the Media Matters, which is a media watchdog that is currently facing lawsuits both from Elon Musk X and the state of Missouri. The New York Times claims that Media Matters monitors information from conservative sources and examines the consequences of YouTube's cessation of election censorship. Grant admits that Media Matters is a partisan organization, but said the Times independently verified the research. this is part of the header there. New York Times conservative hippies dropped New York Times Media Matters attempt to pressure Google, YouTube to remove 30 voices. That's what they're trying to do. They want to silence your voice. They want to silence these prominent conservative voices. Benny Johnson posting this excellent breakdown of the hit piece. Let's listen.
Their coverage of
conservative commentators are accusing the New York Times of working with a left-wing group to try and silence them.
commentators, including Ben Shapiro and Benny Johnson, say a New York Times reporter has reached out to them about what they believe is a possible hit piece the Times is writing about their coverage of Vice President Harris. They claim the New York Times is working with Media Matters, a left-wing media watchdog that has put pressure on conservative voices. We have reached out to the New York Times for comment, but have not heard back yet. When we do, if we do, we'll let you know.
In the meantime, let's bring in Joe Concha, Fox News contributor. Tell us what you know about it. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Sandra, John. So, yeah, for starters, let's be clear so our audience knows who we're talking about here. There is not a more corrupt, more radical media organization out there than Media Matters. And the New York Times, which has vast resources and personnel, instead of doing its own research, has now outsourced this to this patently dishonest activist organization whose number one mission, outside of taking out this network, is to squash any and all free speech through astroturf campaigns online against anyone or anything they consider to be conservative or even right of center. Elon Musk once referred to Media Matters as an evil propaganda machine. That's not hyperbole. He ain't wrong. So this is the game plan here, okay? Media Matters, along with the New York Times, and it's getting increasingly difficult to differentiate the two, by the way. They're going to pressure YouTube to deplatform these big voices on the right, like Ben Shapiro, like Benny Johnson. And before you say, well, that's never going to happen, well, remember that YouTube is owned by Google, and Google is the number one donor to the Democratic Party out of Silicon Valley. So if it does happen, the argument will be, well, Shapiro or Johnson, they are spreading misinformation on the platform. Misinformation like, saying that COVID may have come from a lab, or Hunter Biden's laptop is Russian disinformation. That kind of misinformation. So who's to decide what it is and what it isn't? But that's what they're trying to do right now, 7 days before an election.
Some of the things they cite is that Ben Johnson said that Mr. Trump's legal problems are a result of election interference from Democrats. I think there are a lot of people who believe that. Also, that Democrats cheated by nominating Vice President Harris. That his opinion is that they cheated. They definitely circumvented the primary process and the other political norms by elevating her to the position. Those are probably opinions that are held by a lot of people.
That's the whole point, John, right? It's an opinion. Okay, Kamala Harris didn't get one vote before she was handed the nomination. Can you call that rigged? Well, from some people's perspective, yeah, you can. So now you're going to say, oh, no, that's dangerous misinformation. We can't have opinions like that when probably half the country does have an opinion like that. And by the way, Media Matters is a tax-free organization, but they receive millions from Democratic mega donors, and they use those funds to pressure major companies to pull their advertising from outlets that they target. And yet here's the New York Times presenting them as some sort of objective, legitimate source when they're nothing more than a far-left activist organization. So, hopefully they're not successful here, but the deck is stacked against Shapiro and Johnson and others at this point, given that it's the New York Times with Media Matters and YouTube and Google all trying to take them out. And as we saw with Hunter Biden's laptop, they were successful before the last election in terms of squashing voices at a critical time.
Right.
Okay. Now, the twist here is that YouTube stood their ground. They stood their ground and said that these guys are not violating any terms of service. And everything that they said on all of their shows is 100% free speech. It is their opinion. So here you have a so-called newspaper of record partnering with a radical left-wing group to squash people's voices, to get them deplatformed and demonetized, because those questions that were asked were specifically targeted about the YouTube partner program that they enjoy being a part of. Here is Benny Johnson talking about Media Matters.
Media Matters is a far left-wing hate group by Clintonites David Brock for the sole purpose of deplatforming conservative media. It gets worse. Media Matters has been exposed as frauds. Please, hey, let's put up the article of Elon Musk's lawsuit against Media Matters. Media Matters, in their reporting, engaged in algorithmic manipulation or some level of actual criminal fraud. Media Matters is a far left-wing hate group created and funded exclusively by Clintonites David Brock for the sole purpose of deplatforming conservative media.
Now, they really went hard. They really went hard, Media Matters, against Benny Johnson. If you go to their site, I mean, you'll see it. YouTube is profiting from Benny Johnson's election misinformation. Oh, I mean, they open up their article, and it is bad. YouTube is this is directly from Media Matters. YouTube has allowed and apparently profited from conservative streamer and serial plagiarist Benny Johnson's false claims of election fraud, enabled by the platform's decision to roll back its election misinformation policy last year. Oh, I mean, the articles on Media Matters are atrocious. Okay, so the main story on Media Matters here, I guess I will just go to that real quick. Media Matters. This is their front page. YouTube let right-wing figures undermine the 2024 election results even before any votes were cast. They go after Laura Loomer. Go back how Trump's media allies have dismissed or denigrated third world country Puerto Rico. The right is projecting irrational confidence about a Trump win that could aid in an effort to steal the election. YouTube is profiting from Benny Johnson's election misinformation. Here's the other piece. YouTube has provided a home for Rudy Giuliani's election denial after WABC canceled his radio shows. Right-wing radio hosts in Wisconsin and other swing states are priming their audiences for election denial. Right-wing media are already trying to undermine the election results in Pennsylvania with baseless claims of fraud. Oh, yeah. Media Matters. No friend of the Next News Network. I will show you all the hit pieces that they've done on me. Mike Lindell, this is back in July of 2023. Mike Lindell hosted the summit that we promoted. They didn't like that. Here's something about Benghazi we were mentioning. Here is a specific attack piece that they put out on us. I mean, it just goes on and on. These are all, a lot of these go back to COVID. These are all these stories mention Next News Network. But thankfully, YouTube stood their ground and did not allow Media Matters and New York Times to pressure them. YouTube defending them. But there's more, friends. It gets even deeper. Ben Shapiro's just responded to this because it's not just the New York Times. There's another hit piece about the drop from the Washington Post. Let's listen to what Ben Shapiro says.
So I informed you a little bit earlier this week that I got a message from the New York Times in which they essentially were attempting to pressure YouTube into censoring all sorts of conservative podcasts, videos, everything else. The claim was that I was engaged in election misinformation. And then the entire email was all about how I essentially needed to be shut down by YouTube. Because if you're demonetized on YouTube, they also shut down your reach and all the rest. We talked about that a couple of days ago. Well, in case you thought that was not a coordinated hit, yesterday I received the following email from the Washington Post. And when I say that there is a democratic media human centipede, it's because there is. It's because there is. And the entire goal of that democratic legacy media human centipede is to shut down anyone who disagrees with them. Anyone and everyone who disagrees with them. So Media Matters had brought out this study apparently behind closed doors, and they fed it to the New York Times, who then attempted to get comment from Tucker Carlson, from a bunch of other people on the right, in which they were essentially attempting to elicit the response suggesting that we were all election deniers and engaged in misinformation so YouTube could shut us down. The Washington Post, literally within 48 hours, sent me this email yesterday. Quote, "Hi Ben, I'm a tech reporter at the Washington Post. My colleagues and I are working on a story that examines the role podcasts are playing in casting doubt on the integrity of the 2024 election. The piece includes interviews with researchers who say podcasts are an especially effective medium for such claims, given how technically challenging it is for companies to do content moderation." Okay, so what does that mean? They're saying, the suggestion here is that companies ought to be doing content moderation. Which companies? Well, presumably social media companies ought to be shutting down, once again, shows like this one. YouTube ought to shut down this show, according to the Washington Post. Or perhaps she's talking about Spotify, or perhaps iTunes, or perhaps she's talking about advertisers. They can't do content moderation on shows like yours, and you are an elections and this is what the Washington Post reporter is saying. Quote, "A Washington Post analysis found that the Ben Shapiro Show is one of many nationally prominent podcasts that have aired these claims. Our analysis is based on your October interview with former President Trump, where you referred to Democrats as professionals at ballot harvesting, and Trump referred to them as cheaters. So please let me know if you have any comment. My deadline is 5 p.m. Eastern today." We received that early in the afternoon yesterday. Okay, so notice the claim. Okay, the claim is that I was engaged in election misinformation by referring to Democrats as professionals at ballot harvesting. That apparently is election misinformation. Here is NBC News. Quote, "Democrats, for their part, have long enjoyed successes in mail voting, fueled in part by ballot collection where it is legal. The Democratic National Committee said it plans to spend tens of millions of dollars in support of voting programs like mail and early voting." NBC News, you election deniers, you. Engaged in election misinformation every day, apparently, NBC News. Of course, they don't believe that I'm engaged in election misinformation. The thing they're mad about is that I had on Donald Trump. It's not just me they want to censor. They also want to censor Trump. Right? They believe that it is some sort of informational crime for me to have on the former president of the United States and likely future president of the United States. That's insane. It's totally crazy. And again, the claim is, again, that we are supposed to censor President Trump, that I can't say things that are perfectly true about ballot harvesting, which is one of the most corrupt practices in America. So I informed you a little bit.
So Ben Shapiro, Benny Johnson firing back. Fox News, of course. And we have this from Metaverse Corner. New York Times latest expose on YouTube supposedly saving democracy by forcing them to shut down conservative voices is less about facts and more about control. Here's the reality they don't want you to see, shall we? The irony overload. These self-proclaimed fact-checkers have basically declared themselves the ultimate truth squad, but only when it's politically convenient. They handpick the conservative channels to expose, giving others a free pass. They're showing us just how out of touch their so-called balanced reporting really is. Democracy? Only if you play by their rules. 2. Dangerous free speech? Only if it's not theirs. So questioning any official narrative is now dangerous. Funny how free speech is this powerful pillar of democracy until people start saying things certain folks don't want to hear. Somehow they've rebranded debate as a threat. Meanwhile, real issues slip through the cracks. Cash grab hypocrisy. These guardians of truth love to cry about YouTube making ad money on conservative videos. Yet here is the New York Times pocketing ad dollars every time they whip up fear with these hit pieces. Let's be real. Someone's cashing ad, and it's not pointing the finger at. And what's notable is that normally when you go to the New York Times, they have it behind a paywall. But not this article. This article they wanted everyone to see. But were there ads placed around the article? Probably. Let's continue. The desperation is shown. Trying to protect democracy by silencing one side of the debate right before an election, that's not a democracy, it's damage control. The real problem, people are waking up in a narrative as stale as this won't cut it. This is the same game they have played time and time again. We saw it during the pandemic. We saw it after the 2016 election. And now they're pulling this playbook again. It is a sad, sad rerun on a late show that people just tune into. They don't tune into it. They tune it out. It's just background noise. In the end, this isn't about protecting democracy. It's about clinging to a narrative that's lost touch with the reality people live in. Desperate times. saviors are sounding a lot like a one-sided sales pitch. That's where we're at, folks. They are doing everything they can. But people are happy about YouTube's response. Times in the Post thought they were going to use Media Matters to take down conservatives on the platform, and YouTube told them to pound sand. Good for YouTube. Seriously. Days ahead of the 2024 election, David Brock's Media Matters used New York Times as a vehicle to pressure YouTube to deplatform right-wing voices, but YouTube didn't cave. A YouTube spokeswoman said, none of the 286 videos violated community guidelines. This is what they said. The ability to openly debate political ideas, even those that are controversial, is an important value, especially in the midst of election season. That is what the YouTube representative said. YouTube defends conservative content. Content creators against Media Matters. Fuel hit New York Times hit piece. Ben Shapiro says we're 5 days out from the election, and the coordinated media hit from New York Times and Washington Post is here, and it is a huge dud. The article is effectively trying to strong-arm YouTube into censoring voices that the New York Times disapproves of. It's shameful behavior from a newspaper. Meanwhile, the ideology of GARM is still alive and well. GARM is one of the international organizations that tries to deplatform people by taking ad revenue away. But Elon Musk stepped in, sued GARM, and GARM was disbanded. But believe me, those people are still out there trying to do this, as evidenced by this New York Times piece. So the New York Times thought they could pressure YouTube into submission. Instead, they exposed their own bias and desperation. Even Elon Musk weighed in, calling Media Matters evil incarnate. Here's what we want to know from you. Why do you think the mainstream media is so desperate to silence conservative voices just days before the election? Share your theories in the comments below.
Your EBT or SNAP card is now covering your daily expenses. All EBT or SNAP card holders are now able to get their daily expenses covered because of a new act.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Oh, I gotta go to church on y'all. Praise the Lord. Let everything that happens praise you, the Lord. Here we go. All right. Good evening again to
Hello. What do we do now? Now we're friends? Where are you gonna fix this for me?
And we are friends.
What do we do now? Now we're friends? Where are you gonna fix this for me? There we go. Hello.
And we are friends.
What do we do now? Now we're friends? Where are you gonna fix this for me?
And we are friends.
What do we do now? Now we're friends? Where are you gonna fix this for me? Hello.
And we are friends.
What do we do now? Now we're friends? Where are you gonna fix this for me?
And
What do
we
we
are
do?
friends.
What do we do now? Now we're friends? Where are you gonna fix this for me? Hello.
And we are friends.
What do we do now? Now we're friends? Where are you gonna fix this for me?
And
What do
we
we
are
do?
friends.
What do we do now? Now we're friends? Where are you gonna fix this for me? Hello.
And we are friends.
What do we do now? Now we're friends? Where are you gonna fix this for me?
And
What do
we
we
are
do?
friends.
What do we do now? Now we're friends? Where are you gonna fix this for me? Hello.
And we are friends.
What do we do now? Now we're friends? Where are you gonna fix this for me?
And we are friends.
What do we do now? Now we're friends? Where are you gonna fix this for me? Hello.
And we are friends.
What do we do now? Now we're friends? Where are you gonna fix this for me?
And we are friends.
What do we do now? Now we're friends? Where are you gonna fix this for me? Hello.
And we are friends.
What do we do now? Now we're friends? Where are you gonna fix this for me?
And we are friends.
What do we do now? Now we're friends? Where are you gonna fix this for me?
plan, you can qualify for the Auto program. This new program from Auto is so simple, it takes about a minute to find a new carrier to save the most money. No credit score required. So if you tried to save money before and didn't qualify, this program is almost guaranteed to save you money, and you can cancel your old insurance for a full refund with no penalties. So just click the link in the video and we'll talk with you soon.
Would you be interested in collecting 5-figure paychecks for a few hours of work, helping you in your spare time from home? I'm on a mission to recover $10 million within the next 12 months to American patriots that have unrightly been robbed of these funds and are not aware the funds still belong to them. $14 million are being swiped every day, and there's just too much for me to do alone, and that's where you come in. I'll show you how to recover these funds for them. You'll get paid handsomely for your help. Each one of these takes only a few hours and is producing 5-figure checks for a few people that have already started helping you with this mission. Click the button below, and I'll give you all the details and show you how you can get involved.
Bigger, better, stronger than ever before. We're going to bring in business. We're going to use tariffs to take advantage of our great strength and to frankly hurt countries that are hurting us and have been hurting us on trade for many, many years. Right now, China is building massive auto plants in Mexico, and they think that those plants are going to make cars and they're going to sell them across the line for no tax, no anything. Destroy what's left in Detroit, which frankly compared to years ago is very little. And South Carolina and many other places, we're not going to let it happen. We will charge them 150 or 200% tariff, and all of that investment that they made is now worthless. We're not going to let them do that. We're not going to let them destroy our automobile industry. The United Auto Workers is a grossly incompetent man at the head. They want to make all electric cars, and Elon Musk is a friend of mine. You saw he endorsed me very strongly, and he understands that I'm right. And I love electric cars, and they have an incredible purpose. They have an incredible purpose. They're unbelievable what they can do, and he makes a great product. But I told him, I said, you know, before you endorse, you have to understand, we have to have gasoline-propelled cars. Again, we have more liquid gold than anybody anywhere in the world, more than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia. We have more than anybody. We're going to quadruple the business. We're going to be much bigger than both of them put together. We're going to pay down debt. We're going to reduce your taxes. I gave you the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulatory cut in history. That created all of the jobs. And when Biden talks about jobs, by the way, because they lie so much, the jobs he created, almost all of them, almost 100%, people say more than 100%, went to illegal aliens. The other, remember this, the numbers sound good because they're called bounce back jobs. We had a pandemic, people were laid off, and then as soon as this is common for ages, when a pandemic goes, we have bounce back businesses. And had we not done what we did with money, probably some of you benefited, but we would have been in a 1929 style depression. We did it just right. The problem is, they came in, they no longer needed money. We gave them a country that was fixed, and more people died during Biden. Think of that. They died during us from COVID. Many more people died during them. But think of this. We gave them a country, and they blew it because they took so much. They took trillions and trillions of money. They kept feeding it, and that's what caused, along with their bad energy policies, that's what caused this tremendous inflation, which is destroying the people of our country. And frankly, it's contagious. It's all over the world. But we're the ones that started it with their bad policy. So we're going to work very hard. We've got to win. We've got to win this state. This state is a very, very big state to win. We've won it twice. it again. I said to a couple of the people, I said, so let me ask you, how are we doing compared to 4 years ago and 8 years ago? They said, sir, you're much harder, you're more popular. I said, that's true. But we won it twice. And all I can do is pledge to you that we're going to do a great job for North Carolina. We're going to do a great job for the United States of America. We put America first, and we're going to make America great again. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, everybody. It's great to be here. What a place. Did you like the flyover? That was pretty good. We were going low and fast. We was moving along. It was pretty low. Just want to thank JD. He's doing a fantastic job. And I want to thank North Carolina. I love North Carolina. 76 days from now, we're going to win this state, and we're going to win the White House, that beautiful, beautiful building. That beautiful building. I want to thank Senator Ted Budd, who's doing such a great job. Senator Ted Budd, thank you. Thank you. Great job, Ted. Mark Robinson, he's out there. He's fighting. He's fighting. He's a great one. And I think we have a lot of our sheriffs here, don't we? Where are they? Will this stage hold them? I'd love to bring them up. Come on, sheriffs, get up here. Mark, come on. I don't know if this stage is going to hold them, but if it doesn't, we've had bigger risks than this. Right? Come on, sheriffs. If you weigh more than 200 pounds, don't come up. I'm only kidding. Come on. Just so you know, these are great people, but I want to get them the hell off the stage because I guarantee they didn't have this in mind when they built this. Thank goodness Mark lost a lot of weight over the last couple of months. You did, actually. Well, I want to thank you all very much. You are the reason we're able to be here and that you have a safe state and a great state. Thank you all very much. Thank you. That's some group of people for endorsements too. Every group virtually in the country, law enforcement endorsed us. Thank you very much. Thanks, Mark. Look, Mark will win. Gotta win. He's gotta win. Gotta win. He's a good man. Thank you. Oh, I feel much better. I feel very much better than they got off the stage. I had no idea what was gonna happen, but it's not that far down. You know, I had no idea what was. I'm a big structural guy. But I want to thank also members of Congress, Richard Hudson, Byron Donalds, two warriors, two great people, two unbelievable. Where's Byron? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Where's Byron? Oh, look at him over there. He knows how to get attention. Look at that guy. He's been my friend for a long time. Thank you for everything, Byron. And you have, thank you very much. Congressional young, good-looking people. Thank you very much. Great. The State House Speaker, Tim Moore. Tim? Where is Tim? Oh, he's nice and safe back there. Oh, hello, Tim. I appreciate it, Tim. And Neil Jackson, State Rep. Neil Jackson. Thank you very much. Thank you, Neil. RNC Chairman Michael Watley. What a job he's doing. What a job he's doing. The North Carolina GOP Chairman Jason Simmons, who's been a friend of ours for a long time. Where's Jason? Nice tall character right here. Thank you very much, Jason. And somebody that's been with me from day one, he's a real general. You know, we have the real generals and we have the fake woke generals that did so poorly in Afghanistan, should have all been fired. But this is a real general, Keith Kellogg. Right, Keith? And this is a great group. It's good to see you, Keith. He's been with me from before day one, right? He said, that guy should run. We got to get him to run. I like those guys. They were here before I ran. You know, just...
Welcome to this. If you will survive in this you must remember these rules. 1. Do not board the school bus. You see 6 tentacles coming out. 2. What appears cute, if she summons jellyfish, avoid them. 5. Don't be afraid of the legs. They make you take surprise flavors. 6. Do not open any refrigerators. Deadly creatures. 7. Lastly, never doubt that this world belongs to humanity. Your goal is to survive at all costs. Change the rules and recover.
This workshop will help you identify public threats and navigate the dangers of this holiday shopping season. Just think about it. We often hear about holiday shoppers being trampled, assaulted, threatened, or worse. Plus, on top of that, there's the mass shooter threat. This workshop will lay out what we now understand about previous mass shooting events, how to recognize the signs of a potential threat, and the preventive solutions to protect yourself and your family this holiday shopping season. So click to get all the details and secure your spot, and we'll see you soon.
But they wanted this to come out after November 5th, when it wouldn't have meant so much, but it came out a little early, so there's a patriot in there someplace, right? The real numbers are much worse than that. And Comrade Kamala, no, she's Comrade, most radical left person ever to run for a high political office in our country. Gets another 4 years, millions of jobs. It'll vanish overnight. She gets 4 more years, you're going to see jobs vanish. Millions and millions will vanish, and inflation will completely destroy our country. We'll have inflation worse than they've given us. You know, when I gave it to them, I had virtually no inflation. And now their number's up to 22-23%, but their real number is probably 40 to 50%, because a lot of the things in their numbers aren't included. I saw another one where the FBI releases crime statistics, and they weren't that bad. And then they left out little things like New York, Chicago. They left out various areas, and that wasn't so good. Your life savings will be totally wiped out. And if you put somebody like that in there with him, how about him? How about him? She'll destroy our country just like she destroyed San Francisco, just like she destroyed California. With the Trump victory, we will once again have the greatest economy in history. We're going to do things that are going to make us so great so fast. We're going to bring it back. We're going to make America strong again. We're going to make America great again. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be fantastic. So I just want to thank you very much for your support, because I've always had Thank you. Thank you very much. We have a job to do. You know, we have a job to do. We had some very good polls this morning, despite their charade. I call it the party, the Democrats' party. You know, 5 people in Chicago were killed in the last little while since the charade that they have going on. They mentioned my name, I think, 271 times. They mentioned the economy like 12 times. They mentioned the border, maybe none. They don't talk about the border. Our great border czar doesn't talk about the border. But they mentioned me more than any other category. I'm now a category. They had me down today as a category. That's all they talk about. Trump. We've driven them crazy. They have Trump derangement syndrome. We've driven them crazy, and they should be driven crazy. They've done a terrible job for our country in every single way. There's not a thing they've done well except cheat and lie. They lie about stats. No, they lied about the crime numbers. The crime numbers didn't look bad. Then they found out that many of the worst places weren't included in the numbers. That was done by the FBI, which is sad. 4 years ago, our country was strong and respected like never before. Our allies admired us. Our enemies feared us because everyone knew that as American president, I was all about putting America first. It's true. Under my leadership, we rebuilt the United States military, created Space Force, and we made our allies pay their fair share and their fair dues. You know, we went to NATO, we say, you're not paying, you gotta pay. If you remember, President Bush would go and he'd make a speech, Obama would go and make a speech, they all made speeches. This one didn't even make a speech, this last one. But I went, I said, nobody's paying, you gotta pay. And they did, paid hundreds of billions of dollars. They said, well, does that mean you won't support us if we don't pay? I said, that's what it means. I had to say that. I got a lot of heat for that. People, the fake news, oh, that's a lot of fake news. That's a lot of fake news. Oh, the fake news gave me a hard time for that. The fake news was saying, what a terrible thing to say to our allies. Our allies weren't paying. And I said, you gotta pay. We were paying for everybody. So they take advantage of us on trade, and then we also pay for their military. That somehow doesn't work. So they had to pay. They paid hundreds of billions of dollars. But I said to them, no, that means I will not protect you. I will not protect you. They said, sir, we're attacked by Russia. Will you protect us? Used to be Soviet Union, now Russia. Will you protect us? I said, are you paid? No, let's assume we're not paid. Then you're delinquent, right? Well, yes. That's a real estate term. You're delinquent, yes. No, we will not protect you. The press went crazy. And I said, and you know what? If I would have said the other way, they would have never paid. Hundreds of millions were sent into NATO. We defeated ISIS. We killed the world's top terrorists. We secured our borders. We achieved energy independence. We stood up to China. We protected Israel. We made peace in the Middle East with the Abraham Accords, and more. We did things like nobody ever heard of, and we brought our troops mostly back home. We didn't start any wars for 79 years. It was before. We didn't start wars. 79, 80 years. Everybody said, oh, he's going to start wars with his attitude. No, my attitude kept us out of wars. I stopped wars with phone calls. Russia should have never happened. With Ukraine would have never happened if I were president. Would have never happened. Nope, there was no talk of that. Never happened with Putin. Would have never happened. And Israel, October 7th would have never happened. Iran would have never done that. They had very little money at that point. Now they're rich as hell. They allowed that to happen. And Kamala, where's Mike? What happened to Mike? Where is he? He's on a beach. He's on a beach. You know, he's got somebody that thinks he looks great in a bathing suit. He likes to go to a beach. How do you leave here and go on a beach? You can't do it. There's things you just don't do. People don't want to see you in a bathing suit. Walks badly. It's hard to walk in the sand. You know, he's got a hard time lifting his feet through the sand. And then he grabs the chair. The chair is meant for old people to lift and young kids to lift. You know, 4-year-old kids, right? And he can't lift it. He needs a little help. The whole thing is crazy. How we ever got that is crazy. And what happened to our country with inflation and with disrespect from all over the world, and all these wars are starting all over the place. because they are laughing. But they're not laughing too much. You're a little worried about a certain person winning the election. We had some very good polls today. And if that happens, you're not going to have any third world wars. Every American was safer under President Trump. In fact, the entire world was safer when I sat behind that beautiful Resolute desk in the Oval Office. You know, I heard the other day for the first time, I heard Biden say, the beautiful Resolute desk. He never said that before. They copy me. When I say we're a nation in decline, guys are copying me. And then they say they shouldn't say that, but they thought the words were beautiful. They copy me all the time. In that case, it was Republicans that were copying me because they happen to be right, so I don't mind if a Republican copies me. And if you guys want to copy me. But it's a sad thing to have to say. They copied me. The Resolute desk, he never mentioned that. He doesn't even know what the hell the Resolute desk is. Exactly 3 years ago this month, the weakness and incompetence of Kamala Harris, crooked Joe Biden, delivered the most humiliating event in the history of our country. One of the biggest military disasters in the history of the world, as far as I'm concerned. No one will ever forget the horrifying images of their catastrophic retreat from Afghanistan. Desperate Afghans fell to their deaths from the wheels of U.S. cargo planes that were 3,000 feet up in the air. Bloodthirsty terrorists poured out of the prisons after Biden and Harris surrendered Bagram, one of the largest air military bases anywhere in the world. We spent billions and billions of dollars building it many years ago. And you know, it was important to keep it. I was never leaving that. I would have been out faster than them. I said, that's up. We were there for almost 21 years. And I said, what are we doing? We had no soldiers killed for 18 months while I was there because they knew, don't play around with our soldiers. They were killing them. They were killing them under Obama. Did you see Barack Hussein Obama last night? Taking little shots. He was taking shots at your president. And so was Michelle. You know, they always say, sure, please stick to policy, don't get personal. And yet they're getting personal all night long, these people. Do I still have to stick to policy? Sir, you must stick to policy. You'll win it on the border. You'll win it with inflation. You'll win it with your great military that you built that they gave away $85 billion worth of it in Afghanistan. Sir, you're going to win it on crime. The crime is running through the streets like never before. You're going to win it on all of these things, and maybe especially, I think two things, the economy, inflation, because I view them together. What they've done to inflation, and they caused it with energy. What they did with energy is so stupid. If we were there with our energy, we'd be so dominant all over the world right now. We were already energy independent. I made you energy independent, but we would be
Every industry is different, and so is its accounting needs. Thankfully, there's a Western CPE accounting course for just about everything. With the fastest growing course library in the industry, there's no better on-demand CPE platform in the country. For every business, there's an accountant. For every accountant, there's Western CPE. Get started today at westerncpe.com.
Anywhere in the world was handed over to these people. In fact, Afghanistan is now one of the largest arms merchants anywhere in the world. You know that they're selling our equipment at tremendous prices. They're selling our beautiful. We had 70,000 armored trucks, many of them armored trucks and vehicles. Think of this. We had 700,000 rifles and guns. I actually say, what the hell did they need so many for? 700,000 rifles and guns. We had goggles, brand new, right out of the box. You know, they didn't fight at night because they never had goggles, right? Fighters, they never had goggles. Now they have brand new goggles, all left by the Biden-Harris administration. Gave them billions and billions of dollars, just gave it to them, and now they sell that equipment because they don't need 700,000 rifles. They need 20,000. Little difference. They don't need 70,000 vehicles. They need 500 vehicles. You have to ask yourself, who bought all that stuff in the first place? their main avenue, and their beautiful armor-plated trucks, tanks, and vehicles running down the middle, and they're all celebrating because we have stupid people running our government, and she'll be worse than Biden because he wasn't really a believer, but she's a radical left believer. She ruined San Francisco, she ruined California, and if she gets in, our country doesn't have a chance. This calamity is on Comrade Kamala Harris's shoulders. I think her name will be Comrade because I think that's the most accurate name. And I've been looking for names. People are saying, sir, don't do it. You know all my names. They've all worked. They've all been very successful. And I really didn't find one with her. Sir, she's a woman. I said, so is Hillary Clinton. I called her Crooked Hillary. So nobody complained about that, right? Mr. Governor, nobody complained about that. I call her Crooked Hillary. I call people names. I call crazy Nancy Pelosi crazy because she's nuts. You know, Biden is really angry. You know, he was so angry the other night, he's like seething. I never see a guy make a speech with such anger, so uncomfortable, just shouting. But he's should have never been there. We all know that. Should have never been there. What they've done to this country is incredible. But she bragged that she would be the last person in the room, and she was. She was the last person in the room with Biden when the two of them decided to pull the troops out of Afghanistan. And by the way, pulling them out was absolutely right. I was going to do it. I'm the one that got the soldiers down to 5,000 people. I was going to do it, but we were going to get out last. You don't pull the soldiers out first. You let the soldiers stay last. And the head of the Taliban respected the Abduls in conversations with him. After my conversations, not one soldier in 18 months was killed. But you pulled the soldiers out last. Milley and these guys, you know, we have great generals, but Milley and Mattis and these guys, they didn't know what I call them television generals. The television generals, generals that defeated ISIS. For me, great. We have a great military. But she had the final vote. She had the final say, and she was all for it. You take the soldiers out. If I took that young person right there, about 5 or 6 years old, beautiful young person, and if I said, I gave her little details, like about 30 seconds. Did you take the military out first or last? Sure, I'd take the military out last. But they took it out first. And then we left hostages. We left all of the equipment. And now China is occupying Bagram, being 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. Wouldn't it have been nice to have our big, fat, beautiful base? It was probably built there for that reason. But China 1 hour away, and now China is occupying that massive, big base. It's one of the biggest runways in the world. Heavier loads than any runways in the world. Under my leadership, we were getting out of Afghanistan, but we were going to get out with dignity, pride, and with strength. When I left office, we had not lost a single service member in the combat in Afghanistan in more than 18 months. And then we had that horrible day where we lost so many, and so many were so badly hurt. Arms, legs gone, face just obliterated. We lost so many great people that day. Nobody talks about the people.
Now stare at the screen for more than 3 seconds. Don't forget, this is the world of once human. One day, returned to the sky. Monsters that search for a bizarre human chessboard, a hospital without access, a living jellyfish, gigantic tentacles, all so familiar, yet so strange. It's a mysterious catastrophe.
up-to-date legal information.
We're Fine Law. Of course, we have the latest celebrity legal updates.
We're Fine Law. Of course, we have the Attorney Directorate.
Support Find Law. Of course, we make the law accessible through our free legal resources.
We're Find Law. Of course, we have a team of professionals from diverse backgrounds who are passionate about the law.
Find support, find answers, find a lawyer.
We're allowed to do that. Putin would have never gone into Ukraine. Israel would have never been attacked. Sad situation. So many people are dead. So many people are gone. So many cities. You look at Ukraine; those cities are just wiped off the face of the earth. They're outside of Kiev and a couple of others. They're basically just flattened. Far more people dead than they let you know. It's like your numbers that were released fraudulently today. Far more people dead in that war than anybody would know. When those big buildings come tumbling down, hit with rockets, it's so ridiculous. There's nothing left. It's so ridiculous. But since the Afghanistan catastrophe, it's been open season on America. And I realize, I really believe that the Afghan disaster, what happened, the stupidity and the way we pulled out and the bedlam and all of that, it would have been very smooth. With strength and dignity. But when Putin saw that, he said, wow, these people don't know what they're doing. They're overrated. And he went in and same thing happened with Iran. Iran was not going to play with us. And now Iran is a rich nation. They have $300 billion. They had no money. And in 3.5 years, they made $300 billion. $300 million they have right now. They made it all in 3.5 years. They had none when I left. And we would have made a fair deal with them. They can't have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. You can't have a nuclear weapon. I want you to have great lives. But I do hear they're after me. That's the way it is. Look, I'm here for you, and I'm here even for the world. We want to stop world wars because the equipment is so devastating now. A world war is obliteration. We can't have a world war. Every dictator, tyrant, and terrorist on the planet knows that they can get away with murder under Kamala and Crooked Joe. Kidnappers are getting millions and millions of dollars, but now they're getting billions. They're getting billions. What did you get for the 4 people that we released? Sure, they got $6 billion. What is $6 billion? Does anyone know what that means? $6 billion. They got $6 billion. People get kidnapped. They ask for like $1,000. How about 500? They got $6 billion from these idiots. And you know what happens when that happens? A lot of people are going to get as they say, dealing with stupid people. A lot of people. We had 59 people that were hostage. Some in North Korea. That's about as tough as it gets. We got people out without paying for anything. We didn't give money. We didn't want to give money. We gave money. All they do is they go around kidnapping everybody. These people get. Not only do they give $6 billion, they got the Prince of Death out. He's the #1 arms merchant in the world. Russia got him as part of one of the deals. The #1 arms merchant in the world. You know, why were they there? And why did they do what they did? But they got some of the most toughest, meanest criminals anywhere in the world. On top of that, we paid them millions and billions of dollars. We're run by very stupid people. I like to use a much more sophisticated word, but there's no word I can think of. Incompetent. How about incompetent? As a result, peace in Europe has been shattered by the largest European land war since the fall of Nazi Germany. This is the largest war there's been, and this war is going to escalate and escalate. I always say if, because they cheat. I would say when if they didn't cheat, but they cheat. That's the one thing they're great at, cheating in elections. When I'll get that thing settled before I take the office. I'll get it settled as president-elect. I'll get that war stopped. With Russia, we'll get that stopped. Ukraine and Russia, we're going to get it stopped quickly. It'll be done before I get to office. It would not have happened if I was president. It wasn't going to happen in the Middle East. The Jewish people have suffered the worst atrocities and deadliest attacks since the would think. Talking about that lately, so out of control, I don't even have to bother. I just say, look, take a look. We're one of the great experts, and we're on the brink. That's why this November Americans are going to tell Kamala Harris that we've had enough. We can't take it anymore. You're doing a terrible job. Comrade Harris, you're fired. Get out of here. You're fired. You're no good. You're fired. Get him out of here. All you have to do is take a look at San Francisco. Look at the job she did. She had one policy. If you steal less than $1,000, basically $950 to be exact, I want to be accurate for purposes of reporters. Fake news media, they want accuracy. They don't have to be accurate, but we have to be accurate. But if you steal less than $950, they basically leave you alone. So I have guys going in robbing stores with a calculator. Let's see, this is $100. Did you know this? It's not going to happen in North Carolina, I don't think, is it? Let's see, that's $100, that's $59. Bing, 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 bing. Stop. But we don't want to go over $950. They walk out with it, nobody does it. Starting the moment I lift my hand from the Bible after taking the oath of office, I will move to restore America to maximum strength and return the world to peace. We're going to return the world to peace. And mostly I can do it with a telephone call. You know, we don't have to send troops. I can do it with a telephone call. You go to war with another country that's friendly to us or even not friendly to us. You're not going to do business in the United States and we're going to charge you 100% tariffs. And all of a sudden, the president or prime minister or dictator or whoever the hell is running the country says to me, sure, we want to go to war. I talked this world out of a lot of wars with telephone calls. I don't have to send in the troops. One of my most urgent priorities will be to quickly rebuild the readiness and spirit of the United States Armed Forces. And we have it built. We rebuilt it. We rebuilt the whole military, but it was decimated under this group of stupid people. You know, we had so much. When I came in, we had no ammunition. Did you know that? Remember? I used to talk about it. And I said, if it's true, which it was, why would you say that? We had people on television. Well, the United States has no ammunition. You know, some things you just keep to yourself, right? Do you remember I used to, from North Carolina, do you remember I used to talk about that all the time? Those are my best witnesses, those ladies. There's about 40 of them. They're all over the place. And they're always perfectly coiffed and perfectly dressed. Beautiful, they're great. But no, I used to talk all the time. If you have no bullets, I can ask this group of leaders. You don't talk about it, but you get the bullets really fast, right? So within a year, I had so much that our warehouses were stocked to the gills. We never had so much. I bought so much. We rebuilt our military. That's been all dissipated now again because we give it away to everybody. And for nothing. I mean, they don't do anything for us. They don't even get a pledge that we'll pay you back someday if we have the money. How about that? Pay you back someday if we have the money. You know, I sponsor athletes sometimes. If I see somebody that I like in sports, I sponsor some golfers. Usually doesn't typically work out. I don't know if you know, it's like 5,000 to 1 share. But I'm good at that stuff and I can see talent. And I'll give them a few $1,000s. I'll give them $50,000. I'll say, you know, you're really good. You can make it. Why are you trying out for the tour? Sir, I have no money. I have to give lessons. I have no money. I said, you're too good to give lessons. You could be a tour player. I said, I don't have any money. I said, here's $50,000. And here's the deal. If you do well, you pay me back with no interest. Just good luck. If you don't do well, which you probably won't, because it's very hard, you say the worst is a boxer. You sponsor a boxer, they're all great, they're winning all their fights, and then they turn professional, and they go in, and this goes with the UFC, run by Dana White, one of the greats of all time, which has really taken over for boxing, but it's the same thing, and people sponsor people, and they get. But the worst is that take your time, please. Thank you very much. You know, they come 2 days, 3 days early, and it's a lot of stress. We lose them. Once we don't lose the front row Joes, I don't know what they have going. They have something going here, Governor. Thank you very much. Thanks, Doctor. But America's blessed with the greatest military in the world, but our men and women in uniform have been betrayed by radical left politicians and some generals that at the top they're woke. They're woke. We don't want woke generals. We want generals that know how to win, and we have them. We proved that when we wiped out ISIS. Didn't we? Sure, it'll take 5 years. We did it in three weeks. I think we did it in 3 weeks. We have the greatest military in the world, but you need the great leaders. Otherwise, your military will never be great. Everywhere I go, soldiers and veterans tell me how angry they are that not one person has been held accountable for the Afghanistan catastrophe. He never fired anybody. You know, I fire a lot of people when they don't do a good job. Then they come back and write books. You know, they hate you, but that's okay. When you don't fire people, they never write books. I fired a lot of people. I wasn't happy with their service. I wasn't happy with the job they did. I fire them. I let them go. I mean, I'm working for you. I'm not doing this for myself. But when you fire them, they always come back with something. And now nobody's ever been in the position where, you know, they get offered all sorts of money from the fake news and everything. Hey, we're going to make you famous. All you have to do is make up some stories about Trump. But people don't seem to care. It's phony stuff. Phony, horrible, lightweights, terrible people. You know, when I came, don't forget, I didn't know anybody in Washington. I'm President of the United States. I'm going down Pennsylvania Avenue with the biggest load of military and police and motorcycles and everything you've ever seen. And I didn't know anybody. I said to my wife, I don't know a lot of people, but the people I know, I got recommendations from a lot of good people, well-meaning people. Some were good, most were great. We had some bad ones too. Now I know them all in Washington. I know the good ones, the weak ones, guys like this. I know the weak ones and the bad ones, General. We know the dumb ones and the smart ones, don't we? We know them all. and Joe accountable for this November when I take office, and they're going to be held accountable for what they've done to this country. Right? Thank you. I will ask for the resignations of every single senior military official who touched the Afghanistan disaster. I want their resignations immediately. And I want them on the desk in the Oval Office, Resolute desk. I want them on at 12 o'clock, Inauguration Day. Everybody involved with that disaster. When you have a disaster so stupid as that, that caused us such problems, you don't know what that's done to the reputation of our country, the Afghanistan disaster. This house cleaning will be a signal to the entire world, the American military and everybody else. They want people to be held accountable for failure and incompetence. It's just not acceptable that something like that can happen. These are fighters, they fight with broken, old, obsolete weapons and knives. We have F-16s, we have F-35s, F-32s. We were knocking the hell out of them. Just knocking the hell out of them.
In 26 seconds, the way you think about your mail will change forever. iPostal One can receive your mail and packages, view and manage them using our app or website 24/7. Use your iPostal One digital mailbox to forward mail to any address, scan documents, schedule a pickup, or even shred and recycle unwanted mail. View our plans at ipostal1.com.
He's a Marxist or a communist, the people that really study this stuff. They weren't able to tell me. They said it could be all the way, it could be communist, but she's damn close. They said it was definitely one or the other, but they couldn't actually tell me. Was it communist or Marxist? Sir, it's one or the other, we're not sure, we'll figure it out. But under Comrade Kamala, our military has been abused for radical social experiments. On day one, I will get critical race theory and transgender insanity the hell out of our U.S. Armed Forces. We're taking it out. Our warriors should be focused on defeating America's enemies, not figuring out their genders. By that time, hopefully they know their gender. Marxist ideologies have no place in combat. Think of it, they go in and they decide, oh, they're going to change my gender. No, we want them to know their gender when they go in. You have no idea the disruption that that has caused, and the fake news refuses to report it. You know, when I did a ban, I went to a lot of good generals. I said, I'm not going to tell you names. Just tell me, is it the right thing or the wrong thing? The wrong thing, sir. It's the wrong thing. I had unanimous support. And then we did it. I didn't do it. Other people did it. They reversed me as soon as they did it. Like almost the first day. I didn't do it. But they allowed things to happen to our military that's just not right. If you want to have a sex change or a social justice seminar, then you can do it somewhere else, but you're not going to do it in the Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Air Force, Space Force, or the United States Marines. Sorry. You're not going to do it there. The military brass that led these absurd and insulting initiatives will likewise be removed, and they will no longer be in command. They're going to be getting so fast. Kamala and Crooked Joe purged 8,000 service members from our military for refusing their COVID vaccine mandate. They refused to do it. We didn't want a mandate. With a mandate, you just can't do that. I will rehire every patriot who was fired from the military with an apology and with back pay. They will get their back pay and an apology from our government. Hopefully they have great jobs right now and they're making a lot of money, but if they want to come back in, they get an apology and we sign them up and they get their back pay. Should have never happened. The mandate stuff should have never happened. Thanks to Comrade Kamala and Joe Biden, morale in our military is now so low that almost every single branch is suffering a major forces. You know that. Upon taking office, I will begin the largest peacetime recruitment drive in the history of the armed forces. We have to fill our armed forces with great people, but they don't have spirit now. There's no spirit. Used to bring other soldiers would bring their friends in. Now that doesn't happen. Almost never happens. The sense of spirit, pride, and prestige will soon come roaring back and reach levels never seen before. We're going to make it so hot that I'm going to want to resign and join the military. I don't know what rank I would start at. I guess I started private. I don't know. What rank would I have to start at, General? I have to start pretty low. He said you'll start at the top. All right, then I'll stay here. That's very good. You'll start at the top. He knows what to say. America's military must always be unrivaled and unbeatable. I mean, I see reports coming out where they do studies, and they said under these circumstances, we'll lose a war to China. Number one, it's true. Why are we saying it? And number two, it shouldn't be true, should it? It shouldn't be true. Not going to happen. Why would they release a report like that for China to read? We're vulnerable here.